from Sabaragama.
That's right.
Tell us what is the heartbeat of the people from the provinces?
You mean with relation to the current situation?
Current situation. Well, I mean, 4.5 years, but let's say current situation.
Current situation is, for us, things are not looking really good.
Yeah.
Because now, if we really take this bombing incident,
Yeah.
it was one incident, but the forces handled it well.
Yeah.
We have to, hats off to them.
Yeah.
They handled it well. The ground situation was handled.
Yeah.
But as a government, did the government handle this situation? That is a question, big question among the people. After the bombing incident, for us, we saw so many other things which was revealed to the people.
Yeah.
People initially didn't know.
Yeah.
Now, if you take for an example, people got to know that the government's Security Council
hadn't met.
hadn't met.
Yeah.
They weren't acting responsible enough.
Yeah.
And the government wasn't willing to take the responsibility for making national security top priority. Because all people, you and me, including you and me, all people expect this country to be a secure place.
Yeah.
We want to go to town and come back home.
Yeah.
We should have that security.
And we want our investments safe.
We want our investments safe.
We want our jobs safe.
And we want our children safe.
Indeed.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So then, after this incident, people got to know that nor the government nor the authorities were taking enough responsibility on behalf of the people. We saw how some of the high authorities were speaking on TV.
Yeah.
They were saying, oh, we knew this is going to happen,
Yeah.
but didn't expect such a huge crisis.
Yeah.
So that is not good enough for the people. And more things were revealed. After that, now we saw so many swords being found from...
Well, in the clean-up operation, I call it the mopping up operation.
Exactly.
It's astounding. And I mean, when they found all these weapons or machetes and so on, it also indicated that this was the underworld had been having a great time, because they had been amassing all these things. And in this whole, under the intelligence, they were looking for various things, but they also found a lot of things that they didn't expect.
Exactly. But what did they take right action on behalf of this country? All these systems, the government and the administrative system, should have taken action and proven to the people that we are taking care of your national security. That is our top priority, which didn't happen then. Because the situation was, this is called something like an anarchy. There's disorder. The government is not taking enough responsibility on behalf of the people. Then what happened is, Ratanathero had to go for a hunger strike.
Yeah.
After Ratanathero going for the hunger strike, the worst thing is the Muslim leaders all getting together and resigning. That is, I feel, in my personal...
Was that a fix?
That would have been a fix. Would have been. I don't know. But them getting together and resigning, I feel that is racism. Shouldn't have happened. Because we didn't have any allegations against Kabir Hashim. Didn't have any...
That's not...
pertaining to this incident.
To this incident.
Pertaining to this incident.
Okay.
Shouldn't have resigned based on this incident.
Yeah.
And Rauf Hakim, people like that then.
Yeah.
But actually what should have happened is, initially, when there was a problem, when there were allegations against people like Rashad Baduddin, Atawullah, Asad Sali, the other Muslim leaders should have forced them to resign at least for a brief period of time.
To answer, not more than answering the government, to answer to the people of this country. Right.
In general, Sinhalese, Tamil, Muslim in general, for all of us.
But Prabath, that culture isn't present in Sri Lanka, as you can see.
That's right.
Now, if that's the case, now I fully agree with what you say.
Okay.
I fully agree.
Okay.
The other leaders ought to have said to these three guys, listen, you're putting all of us into trouble. Step down and address the issue. But
they cannot.
How can you expect them to do that when, if we examine the past, if we look, let's start at the beginning from February 2015, when Sri Lanka's central bank was virtually robbed for
That's
want
right.
of a better word.
Exactly.
Right? We didn't have any resignations then.
No.
We had the minister in charge of the subject of the central bank, for the first time in the history of independent Sri Lanka, moved away from the Ministry of Finance to a ministry where the Prime Minister was the minister.
True.
He didn't step down.
Yeah.
He didn't even step down from that particular ministry to permit a better investigation.
yeah.
He didn't do that. And several times we had Tilak Marapana, who resigned over the avant-garde affair, and then he was brought back in.
That's right.
So, several such incidents. So when the others are not resigning, then I think that might be racism to expect these three guys to do it.
No. See, this is the dirty side of politics, isn't it? People, the politicians, they don't have any shame.
Yeah.
They should have shame. They should feel ashamed when you have certain allegations.
Yeah.
You should be able to answer to these people. As you said, you're right, quite right for us. When the bond scam happened, there was no action taken, and many incidents from
that's actually criminal, because almost a year later, in 2016, March 2016, they did 2 more bonds, and no one's talking about it.
No one's talking about it.
And no one's even investigated, and there's a lot of money made out of that. It was 7 times more than the first one.
And the general public wouldn't even know this for us.
Exactly.
They wouldn't even know. No, why I was bringing that incident, the Muslim leaders getting together and resigning.
Yeah.
What they would have ideally done is, resigning, the people with allegations would have resigned. The other leaders would have forced them to resign for a brief period of time. What you're saying is true. That is not the practice in this country.
Yeah.
So what do we need to change? We need to change the whole system. Are we going to continue to vote like this as people? The general public, are they going to go and vote because you've been in a certain party for a long time?
Or because the member of parliament turned up at somebody's funeral.
Exactly. Or because the member of parliament turned up at a wedding. Or because you have a close relationship with a politician. Or because you were given something by the politicians. Were you treated well because you were treated well? Are we voting for these reasons? Can we change the country by voting for these reasons? You reap what you sow, isn't it, for us? So people also have to start voting wisely, because this is going to be a last chance, next presidential election.
But Prabath, isn't it true that the people, the people expect to be able to vote wisely, but it's the same menu. The menu card is the same. So the party is responsible. All these parties are responsible because they trot out the same names again and again and again.
You're quite right for us. Because all these parties in general, all the parties, what are their concerns? You really take their concerns these days. All the parties, they are looking for a presidential candidate. They are thinking about how to come back to power. Some of them are thinking about how to stay in power.
Yeah.
But actually, does that represent people's problems? People are suffering. The financial situation is very bad in the country. All business sectors, people think only hospitality industry is affected, but no, all the industries are affected. People are suffering, and people are in a state of fear. You have to go with your child to the school and protect the school. People are back to that old bad situation.
So we've gone back 20 years.
We've gone back so many years. But the politicians are working on their political agenda on how to come back to power or how to stay in power. So they are not, as you said for us, quite rightly said, they are not trying to bring in the right people to politics. By bringing the right people to politics, they are going to lose. They are not going to be able to handle this dirty system. If I could say, it's a dirty system. We have to get out of it. So I personally feel, this is my personal opinion, I personally feel if the parties are not going to act, independent candidates will come out. So it's time people looking at whom you are going to vote for.
What about if we cast our minds back to Westminster and all Sri Lankans politicians especially are fond of looking at the Westminster system of politics.
Okay.
Well, in this Westminster system of politics, we had Theresa May, the leader of the Conservative Party, who faced an election within her party.
That's right.
And she won that election.
Yes.
And then she would expect 12 months in which she can't have any further challenges. Now, this is while she was Prime Minister.
Okay.
But when the dissatisfaction on her inability to deliver Brexit became of great concern to her own party,
That's right.
the backbench members of her party forced her to announce a date of resignation.
That is it.
Now then, this is backbench MPs. What are the chances of that happening here?
Actually, we see a few good backbenchers in the parliament. Right. But the problem is for us, whenever they are going to come out with their pure thoughts, if I would say.
With the thoughts of their conscience.
With their conscience, they are going to be bribed. Now, if you see the real situation is, recently, the backbenchers were given new jeeps. This is the ground situation. The backbenchers were, why? Because they were starting to create a situation in the parliament, but then they were given vehicles and they are all okay now. That's the sad side.
Is that what it is to keep them in tow, a vehicle?
That's the sad side about it. That's the sad part, because nobody is concerned about this country. We are in so much of trouble and we are having so many problems. The political system continues to manipulate people, continues to strategize their own way, continues to go towards their aims, but not towards achieving people's objectives. So it's time for us, this is enough. Enough and enough. We have to change this. Irrelevant of the political party. I belong to a political party and I respect my political party. But party is not number one. Country is number one. Irrelevant of the political party. If somebody is going to come up with a proper plan for this country, if somebody is going to really represent this motherland, if somebody is going to say, look, this is what I'm going to do, and this is our plan, and if in 5 years, if they fail, okay, don't vote for me. And there should be a plan for this country, then we are going to work for them. Unfortunately, party politics might not last for a long time for us. That's my personal opinion.
So, who is going to lead the change? We have Mr. Wickramasinghe, who is intent on securing power within his party.
That's right.
We have Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa, who has not quite got used to the idea that he lost an election and that perhaps it's time for him to step down and pave the way for another lot.
That's right.
The same family have various political aspirations. Chamal isn't being allowed to resign or to retire. I'm sure he wants to. And, so like that, I'm just only picking these two names up. But Chandrika Kumaratunga was perhaps the only good one out of the lot, because when it came to her stepping down, and she perhaps could have propelled her brother into there, she recognized that her brother wasn't quite the material that the country was looking for, and perhaps her party, and she had no other option. So, but
she didn't have an option.
With this dynastic politics, the politicians are in no mood to change that.
That's what I say. So
how are we going to make the change as a youthful politician?
Yes, I think when people start to vote wisely, this election might be, during this election for us, if the people can give a message to these main parties by voting wisely, the system will start to change. We are not going to be able to change this tomorrow.
Okay.
We will take at least 5 to 10 years to change the system. But people has to start voting wisely now. During this next presidential election, we have to give the message to all the parties, look here, if you are not going to have a plan for us, we are not going to vote for you. We could even, people could even not vote. They could not cast their vote if they want to. So, as you said, now, President Mahinda Rajapaksa, then Premier Ranil Wickremesinghe, and even President Maithripala Sirisena, they all want to come back to power, isn't it? A premier wants to stay back in power. But look at Barack Obama, the most powerful, who used to be the most powerful man in the world.
Yeah.
After 2 terms, he said, I am below the law.
Yeah.
Nothing is above the law. Law is the law. Isn't it?
Yes, that's a very famous pronouncement, and especially made it at meeting of the OAU.
That's right.
The African states there. And he did say, he said, I'm a young man, I've got enough in there.
Enough political energy.
And he says, I could probably win, but the law is the law.
Law is the law. So everybody should be below the law. We all want this country to work under one law.
Yes.
Being fair enough to all human beings inside the country, and we want the country to do well. But we don't see that happening. Even when we represent our parties, we want the party to make policies on behalf of the country. But that is not happening.
So what type of a leader do we need?
We need a leader with a very, very strong, a policy-based leader. We want a policy-based leader who is going to set up the policies for the country, where the country can actually work on for the next 10 to 15 years, where we will have strategies to develop the economy, where we will have strategies to have proper national security, where we will have strategies to change the education system according with the world's change. The change, as we say, change is the only thing we cannot change.
Right.
So we have to change every day. The education system has to evolve.
Yeah.
The national security systems might have to evolve.
Yeah.
Our own economic strategies has to change.
Yeah.
So there's so much to do. Instead of doing that, is the parliament actually capable enough to do this?
We have a message from, several messages from viewers.
Okay.
One of them just popped in.
Okay.
Says, need of the hour is a general election. What do you think?
It is. Need of the hour is a general election, but we are not in a position to delay the parliament presidential election because of the law of the country.
Yeah.
So I think if the political parties get together and try to delay the presidential election, that is going to be bad on the country.
Okay.
So right after a presidential election, we will have to go for a parliamentary election or a general election.
Yeah, yeah. In all this, you've forgotten the Provincial Council elections.
It's been abandoned.
It's been abandoned. So what's going to happen to that?
So that will have to come later, isn't it? Anyway, I don't believe in the Provincial Council system much.
But you're a member of that.
I am a member of that.
Yeah.
I used to be a member of that, but I don't believe, because I feel it's a white elephant. It's a waste of money. Because without the provincial councils, actually, we could have the proper administrative systems using the local bodies,
Right.
local governments, because we have 300 odd local bodies in the country, and we have a system where we have 14,000 GS divisions, and in each GS division we have 5 government representatives working. They've been paid salaries. Are we making use of them? Are we really getting what we want for the country from them?
Yeah.
If we can actually make use of the system with local bodies like Pradeshya Sabhas, Nagara Sabhas, and urban councils, use the GS divisions and the officers working there to handle our administrative system, and we don't need a provincial council. I feel the provincial council is a big waste of money for this country, because I've seen the budget of Sabaragamu Provincial Council so many times. Recurring expenses are much more higher than capital expenditure. You have to maintain the council, you have to spend so much. To maintain the members, you have to spend so much. To maintain the chief minister, you have to spend so much. So many vehicles. It's a waste of people's money. We are not a country who can afford to waste money like that. Still, there are schools without proper facilities for children to go to the toilet. Do you believe that, Faraz? Still there are schools.
Well, I can actually, because a couple of years ago, I went on a day, I followed Sajid Premadasa around.
Okay.
And one of the things he was doing is he was going to some years ago this was, he was going to a school to provide them That was the day that the electric connection was being given.
Okay.
But when we went there, and awaiting his arrival, we did a bit of wandering around the school,
Okay.
and we saw that there was a computer room there,
Okay.
and there were computers there, some used computers and so on. So we asked, what does this mean?
Without electricity.
He said, well, you know, we got the computers first, and the electricity is coming next. So that school was fortunate because they had Sajid Premadas on the one side as a member of parliament, and they had Nama Rajapaksa on the other side.
All right.
So, you know, there was that. But it was astonishing that that school at the time that I made a visit was 62 years old.
Oh.
And they didn't have power. It was rural, yes, but they didn't have power. I just thought I'd make that point.
That's right for us. And I have seen many children walk into school at 2 to 3 kilometers. Some children has to walk to school because the road system is so bad. You cannot get transport from your house. I have seen so many children like that. They suffer so much. 3 kilometers in the morning. I have known one small girl. She used to walk 3 kilometers in the morning and 3 kilometers back home, and she got 186 marks for her scholarship, grade 5 scholarship. Then she was transferred to a school in the town. Then she had more trouble traveling there. See, this is the situation. People are suffering. Look at the hospital beds. We don't have enough hospital beds. Still, sometimes we find people under the bed. Sometimes we find people in the balcony of the hospital. And the corridors of the hospital. People just put down on mattresses or sometimes just on the floor. We have enough and more problems. Are we really representing these problems? That's the thing. We are not representing the problem. We are not addressing these problems. We have, all the political parties have their own agendas of how to come back to power. How
do we rectify it?
We have to, that's the thing. As a starting point, people also has to start voting wisely, thinking wisely. As I always say, you will only reap what you sow.
Yeah.
So you have to get the right politicians inside. You have to send the right people inside. Don't send them to parliament or provincial council or local government because you are known to them, because they have done some favor to you.
Do you think in the provinces, when you are having, let's say, a presidential election or a general election, let's say presidential, and you suddenly find all these buses from outside have brought people in and so on into that area, do you think that the local people are fooled by the crowds? Or is even the local people, whoever is there, they realize that this is just a show of strength, but it has nothing to, does that make a difference when it comes to actual polling day?
It does. Until the last election, whatever the strength you show, because people tend to believe in the strength.
Right.
Usually what happens is, we are all human beings for us. People prefer to follow the winners.
Right.
Isn't it? So whenever they see a certain side has more power, the others usually follow them.
Right.
That is pure political manipulation. They use more buses, they spend more money, they give more food, more to drink. This is pure political manipulation. This manipulation has to stop at some point. We cannot fool the people of this country anymore. We are fooling ourselves. We are fooling the future of our country. And when you vote, please, whenever somebody votes, please think about the future of the next generation. When you're casting your vote, you have to think about your children. You have to think about the future of this country, because we have not secured a good country for our future generation. You look at most of the people with a little bit of money, they are trying to leave the country. So many people getting the second citizenship in Malaysia these days. They are offering a citizenship for Sri Lankans. It's called secondary citizenship. You will also be able to live here, and they can have another citizenship there. So many people are moving to getting that citizenship. So many people are trying to move to Australia. So many people are trying to move to USA. People are trying to leave this country. Who has a little bit of money want to leave this country. Why is this?
And I suppose with a little bit, with some education.
With some education, exactly.
So there's a brain drain happening.
Definitely, that's been happening for a long time. The thing is for us, when you're educated and when you are trying to give back something to the country, the political parties, are they willing to accept it? Are they capable enough to accept it? So this has to change. This is, as I said, enough is enough. This is not, we are not going to get anywhere.
Enough is enough, but what will be your contribution towards achieving this change? You're a youthful politician, so you're quite young. You've got plenty of life left in the system. So what will you do? Are you part of any de facto group of politicians that are mooting for change, for new leadership, new ideas, better commitment?
No, Faraz, I'm not part of any de facto group, but this is my commitment. Now, ideally, 2 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to talk like this because I belong to a party. But now I have thought, no, not anymore. I do belong to a party. I respect my party because of the politics, not because of the leaders.
Yeah.
I have to be very honest with you.
Right.
Because of the policies of the party.
Right. Because of the ideology.
Because of the ideology. Because what the party has done for this country from inception. But we have to talk the reality. We cannot be slaves for leaders. That's not going to happen anymore. We have to talk the reality. If we don't come out, if we are also going to be fearful of the leadership and we are not going to do the right thing, nobody will come out. So this is my I'm actually practicing what I preach for us.
So this is what you do?
This is what I do. Wherever I go, I talk on these lines and I try to convince another person to do the same. So if the youth can.
So every day if you convert one, we might be there.
We might get there. And so many people, I know, so many people are thinking in these lines. So they are also speaking on behalf of the country. So little by little for us, we'll get there. Little by little. It will take a little bit of time.
So you guys have started chipping at the big rock.
That's right.
You've started chipping it now.
Very slowly though. But eventually we will break through.
When do you think the momentum, when do you think the Sri Lankan people are going to say what you just said, enough is enough? When do you think the Sri Lankan people are going to say it all together?
Maybe 5 years down the line, next presidential election.
Prabath, Alwis, thank you very much for being on Newsline. I appreciate your presence. And that's the way it was on Newsline this wonderful Wednesday morning. Take care, be safe on the roads out there, and be safe generally. God bless.
Newsfirst.